The general officers of the Confederate States Army were the senior military leaders of the Confederacy during the American Civil War of 1861 to 1865. They were often former officers from the United States Army prior to the Civil War, while others were given the rank based on merit or when necessity demanded. Most Confederate generals needed confirmation from the Confederate Congress, much like prospective generals in the modern U.S. Armed Forces. Like all of the Confederacy's military forces, these generals answered to their civilian leadership, in particular Jefferson Davis, the South's president and therefore commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy, and the Marines of the Confederate States. Much of the design of the Confederate States Army was based on the structure and customs of the U.S. Army when the Confederate Congress established their War Department on February 21, 1861. The Confederate Army was composed of three parts: the Army of the Confederate States of America, the Provisional Army of the Confederate States, and the various Southern state militias. Graduates from West Point and Mexican War veterans were highly sought after by Jefferson Davis for military service, especially as general officers. Like their federal counterparts, the Confederate Army had both professional and political generals within it. Ranks throughout the essay were roughly based on the U.S. Army in design and seniority. On February 27, 1861, a general staff for the Army was authorized, consisting of 4 positions: an adjutant general, a quartermaster general, a commissary general, and a surgeon general. Initially, the last of these was to be a staff officer only. The post of adjutant general was filled by Samuel Cooper, and he held it throughout the Civil War, as well as the Army's inspector general. Initially, the Confederate Army commissioned only brigadier generals in both the volunteer and regular services. However, the Congress quickly passed legislation allowing for the appointment of major generals as well as generals, thus providing clear and distinct seniority over the existing major generals in the various state militias. On May 16, 1861, when there were only 5 officers at the grade of brigadier general, this legislation was passed, which stated in part that the 5 general officers provided by existing laws for the Confederate States shall have the rank and denomination of general, instead of brigadier general, which shall be the highest military grade known to the Confederate States. As of September 18, 1862, when lieutenant generals were authorized, the Confederate Army had 4 grades of general officers. They were brigadier general, major general, lieutenant general, and general. As officers were appointed to the various grades of general by Jefferson Davis, he would create the promotion lists himself. The dates of rank, as well as seniority of officers appointed to the same grade on the same day, were determined by Davis, usually following the guidelines established for the pre-war U.S. Army. These generals were most often infantry or cavalry brigade commanders, aides to other higher-ranking generals, and War Department staff officers. By war's end, the Confederacy had at least 383 different men who held this rank in the PACs, and 3 in the ACSA: Samuel Cooper, Robert A. Lee, and Joseph A. Johnston. The organization of regiments into brigades was authorized by the Congress on March 6, 1861. Brigadier generals would command them, and these generals were to be nominated by Davis and confirmed by the Confederate Senate. Though close to the Union Army in assignments, Confederate brigadiers mainly commanded brigades while Federal brigadiers sometimes led divisions, as well as brigades, particularly in the first years of the war. These generals also often led sub-districts within military departments, with command over soldiers in their sub-district. These generals outranked Confederate Army colonels, who commonly led infantry regiments. This rank is equivalent to brigadier general in the modern U.S. Army. These generals were most commonly infantry division commanders, aides to other higher-ranking generals, and War Department staff officers. They also led the districts that made up military departments and had command over the troops in their districts. Some major generals also led smaller military departments. By war's end, the Confederacy had at least 88 different men who had held this rank. All in the packs. Divisions were authorized by the Congress on March 6, 1861, and major generals would command them. These generals were to be nominated by Davis and confirmed by the Senate. Major generals outranked brigadiers and all other lesser officers. This rank was not synonymous with the Union's use of it, as Northern major generals led divisions, corps, and entire armies. This rank is equivalent in most respects to Major General in the modern U.S. Army. Not further promoted, a Vanda Maklwa law was promoted too.